Hello, this is Carla Metzdoff. I am admin to the group Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who've Had Enough. I'm also an anxiety coach. And I know I sent out an event, a group event. It's not hooking up well. And I am just going to go live in the group. I'm just going to do a live separate, and I'm also on YouTube, so I'm there as well. The thing is, I'm not going to be able to answer your questions because I can't see them. What I can do is I can switch screens. Hold on, I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to see you in the group, and maybe I can answer questions like that. Okay, I'm back on YouTube. Okay, so as you come on, again, I had a technical difficulty, and I'm going to have to figure this out. I don't know why this keeps happening. I really thought I set this up well. So anyway, so those of you just coming on, I'm sorry if you tried to get through the event invite and you didn't get through, but you will be able to access this through the group. So you'll see me in the feed. But I'm coming on today to really talk to you about why you don't see yourself making progress and what tells you that you are making progress. What are the signs of making progress? The reason why I want to talk to you about this today is because I have been speaking to so many of you, and a lot of times you discount the progress you've been making, and you're so focused on how you feel and the setbacks that you're having that you're not giving yourself credit for what you're doing. And I just want to tell you how I knew exactly when I started making progress. You know, when I was able to finally say, oh my gosh, like it's really happening. I'm making progress. And I started like giving myself some grace in how I did that. So as you come on, say hi. I'm gonna go back and forth to screens and see what everybody is saying. I got to keep updating my. Okay, I got to keep updating. So we're going to talk about how to tell if you are making progress. I'm sorry again for the technical difficulties, but hey everybody, thank you for coming on. So what to look for? How do you know that you are making progress? What are those signs that you want to look for? So a lot of the times, I just want to do one thing. My t-shirts felt very tight. A lot of the times when we look to see how we feel, we go by, like when someone says, hey, how you doing today? Hey, Carla, how you doing? We always say how we're doing according to how we feel, right? So because if you're someone who's always feeling anxious, you're going to be like, I'm all right. Because it's how we feel on the inside that we base how our day is. If we wake up feeling anxious, right, we're going to think, well, my whole day is going to be this way, right? You think right away, well, if I'm anxious now, my whole day is going to be like this. And how do I change it? So we got to get good at doing things differently. So with continued practice, and you might start making changes, but how do you know? Well, the first thing is you're going to start changing your focus. That is how one of the first things I realized, that when I realized, hey, something's different, because we dictate whether we're having a good day or a bad day on how we feel. However, when I started being able to focus not just on how I feel, on the anxiety, but like on other things, I realized, wow, something's different here. And that is me actually not focusing so much on my anxiety, because what we focus on is what we get, right? So when I realize, hey, I'm not focused on the anxiety, I actually feel pretty good. But then I start to focus on the anxiety because it's like, where is it? Like, is it going to come back? And then it would, and I'd be like, oh gosh, it's coming back. And then I realized the connection, right? If I'm going to focus on the anxiety, it's going to come back. So if I don't want the anxiety to be there, I got to get good at being focused on something else. What do I want? Do I want peace in my life? Well, let me focus on that. So focus on something different. Change your focus. So how do you know when you're overcoming anxiety? A good sign is that you're not so focused on it. You're able to focus on something else besides how you feel all the time. Instead of, like when you start feeling those anxious feelings and someone says, hey, how you doing? It's not, oh, that anxiety, and it's always about anxiety. When you stop identifying with that anxiety and focused on it all the time, when you can just be like, well, I'm feeling the anxiety, but there's other things in life to focus on. Which is why, ladies, do you notice that every Saturday I ask you what went well, right? Every Saturday we talk about what is going on in our life. I want to know what your wins are, and I do that on purpose. It's a good exercise to help you to start to focus on what is going good, what is going well. Take your focus off your problems, off the anxiety, and start putting it on all the goodness in your life and your blessings. When you're so focused on your problems, on your issues, you're going to stay focused on the anxiety. You're going to stay negative. Put your focus somewhere else, on others, perhaps. The best antidote to anxiety, depression, is having gratitude, because you can't have fear and love and gratitude in your heart at the same time. You can't be way in the future and present at the same time, right? So when you're in your present time and when you can hold gratitude in your heart for what you have in the present time, hold that gratitude, change your focus, you're going to start seeing changes. That is one of the best ways you're going to tell I am making progress. As you're coming on, ladies, the reason why maybe I sent out a lot of invites for the event, the reason why it's not working maybe and you don't see me is because, again, I had technical difficulties. I got to get this right. But I'm making it work. I'm just going live in the group. You'll see me in the feed. I'm there. I'm also on YouTube. I'm there. So you can connect with me at any time, okay? So we're talking about how do you tell when you're making progress? Because last week we talked about setbacks, right? And I told you setbacks are a good thing because setbacks mean you made progress. Can't have a setback if you're not making progress. But how do you know if you're making progress? Because a lot of you will discount it. You'll make progress, and because you took a step back, you'll be like, oh, I took a step back, so I'm not doing well. And you'll totally forget that you had taken a step forward. We need to recognize when we made progress. But how do you do that if you don't know when you did? The first thing is when you're able to focus on something different than how you feel all the time. Okay? When you can focus on your blessings and all that went well and other people and other things, without continuously focus on yourself and how awful you feel, you're making progress. You're changing pathways in your mind. Next thing is changing how you react to the anxiety. We want to stop reacting to it. Now, what is the difference between reacting and responding? Because they are different. What we want to do is create a new response. Stop reacting and create a new response, okay? Because when we feel anxiety, if you still have anxiety about your anxiety, you're reacting. So what is the difference? So the difference basically being is reacting is more of an automatic response. It's a conditioned response. It's how your cells in your body recorded the way that you responded or reacted, I should say, how you first reacted to that trigger, to that event. You reacted in a certain way. And if you didn't change that, you're going to get the same exact way that you're going to react. But you reacted with a fearful reaction. So a reaction is more emotional. It's more thinking with the emotional mind. It's something you did automatically. But we want to respond. When you respond, it's more of a conscious way of being, So when that trigger comes, instead of just reacting to it, now you're thinking more with the front lobe, which is more logical thinking, and you can respond differently. You're changing the way you are reacting to your trigger, more with our response, more with a logical response instead of an emotional reaction. Does that make sense, ladies? Anybody need clarity into what that means? I'm going to go into the group for a second and see what everybody is saying. I got to just update it every time because it doesn't update for me live. How do you not react? I still haven't managed to figure that out. Yeah, I understand that, Amanda. This has been my biggest. Okay. So, how to change your reaction is what I do in my programs with my clients is I get to know you. I get to understand what it is you're going through, and we work together to learn specific ways to calm everything down, to calm the thoughts, to calm down the central nervous system, to calm down that reaction. How can you respond differently? There are many things that you can do. Some things work differently for others. It depends on what it is. It's not only that, but it's also thinking differently. Thinking still has, a lot to say here, because our thoughts, the way we think, can keep us in that reaction and what we're telling ourselves, or we can use our thoughts to calm ourselves down. But I really work closely with you and show you how to do that. So the first thing, as I said, is you're making a change when you're being able to focus differently, not so much focused on how you feel all the time and on the anxiety. You're making a change when you're reacting differently to your trigger, to whatever it is that's going on. You're reacting differently to the anxiety feelings. You don't have so much anxiety about your anxiety anymore, which leads me to the third thing, which was when I was overcoming anxiety, I realized that at first I was having so much anxiety about my anxiety. I would be like, but what if I go out and I get anxious? What if I do this? I go to the event and I have a big panic attack, or I have an anxiety attack, or what if, like I feel those feelings. And it was like, I was so scared. Like, am I going to embarrass myself? Is somebody going to see me like that? How am I going to cope with it? Those feelings. But then I realized I got to sit with those feelings. The only way to overcome the feelings is to sit with them. Sit with them. They're just feelings. It's just my reaction to my trigger, to my response. It's my response to my trigger, and I'm having fear of my response. A lot of you saying, that's me, that's me. I get it. And you don't want to freak everyone else out that's around you. But when you can change, let's just go back to number 2. When you can change your change the reaction to a response, when you sit with the feelings of anxiety, okay, just sit with them and let them do what they got to do. They're just feelings. They're not going to hurt you. They're not going to hurt you. And when you can sit with those feelings and change how you're reacting to them with a controlled response, you learn ways to quiet the mind, calm the body. So you are taking time, okay, to use exercises. And I've spoken about so many of them, especially when I work with clients. I work with them to understand how to react differently to a system that is being why can't I think of the word, that is not responding, that's overreactive. So how do we calm everything down? So when you can sit with the feelings, know that they're not going to hurt you, and that the feelings are going to continue the more you react. Does that make sense? If you keep reacting the same way to how you're feeling, you're going to get the same reaction all the time. You need to change how you're responding. The best way to do that is not to run, not to fight. We're not fighting anything. The more you fight, the more it's going to happen. Sit with the feelings. Now, I'm not saying to, you need to acknowledge the feelings. There too much awareness can go against you for sure. I'm not saying to dwell. Okay, we're not looking to dwell. Okay, we're not looking to just sit there all day and focus on how we feel. It's different. It's just to know that, acknowledge anxiety, know that it's there. No, it's not going to hurt you. Okay, it's not going to hurt you. So instead of reacting to it, oh, there it is again. But okay, there's that anxiety again. Okay, it's just my response. It's not going to hurt me. I felt it 100 times. I'm good. It's how you talk to yourself, how you're going to respond to it now. Change your response. When you can sit with it and your response has changed, you know that you're moving forward. You're making progress. Because now, instead of, well, how am I going to leave the house when I know I'm going to have an anxiety attack? It's saying to yourself, well, last time I left the house and I felt the anxiety, I did okay. I felt it. It was there, but I survived it. And every time you go out and you survive it, maybe you can change that reaction of, oh, what's going to happen to me if I have that anxiety attack in front of everybody. But maybe every time you go out and you feel those feelings, you do something different. Regulate. That's the word I was trying. Why couldn't I think of that word? Your system is dysregulated. We want to regulate a dysregulated system. In other words, I teach a lot of tools, things, exercises you can use that are going to help you to regulate your system so that you think differently, you respond differently, and you get a different result. You're not going to get a different result with the same thoughts, with the same reaction all the time. Something needs to change. Does that all make sense, ladies? Because, I know that a lot of you are doing things. I understand that. I'm not saying no one's doing anything, but you have to understand change is a consistent effort. Okay? If you want to change, it's something that you have to be, as you learn tools, as you listen to my live trainings, or if you're working with somebody else, I know some of you are, that's fine. You're working with somebody else. Those tools you're learning, you need to be consistent. Consistent effort is what will get you results. That's why I spoke about setbacks, because a setback does not mean things are not working. It means you made progress and you're just having a bad day, which is why I'm coming on talking to you all about how do you know you're making progress? Because if you don't know what tells you you're making progress, you can't congratulate yourself. You can't be happy about what you're doing. You're just going to tell yourself, this doesn't work. That's all you're going to tell yourself. This doesn't work. It just doesn't work. But it does work. Trust me. I would not tell you to do something if I felt it didn't work. That's why I really felt the need to come on and tell you all about what to do that's going to help you realize you're making progress. So if you're just coming on, that's you were able to change your focus. You're not so focused on the anxiety because you're not so much reacting to the anxiety anymore. You are responding to triggers, responding to the anxiety. And because you're able to sit with the feelings, sit with them, and really be able to use those tools to diffuse the anxiety, to change how you're reacting and making it more of a response. The last thing that I could think of, ladies, and you've heard me say this over and over, and I know it's a hard concept, is when you finally have acceptance. And that is a hard, I know, because some of you are like, geez, I get it. Acceptance of those feelings, of those thoughts that are going through your mind over and over, because with anxiety, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on the feelings and the thoughts. All the posts are always about feelings and thoughts, right? But when we can have that thought go in our mind and it's just a thought and be okay. When we can feel that feeling and be like, it's just a feeling. It's just my reaction, my response to my trigger. And yes, response and reaction are two separate things, but I just, some of you are very much in that reaction stage, and some of you are learning to respond differently. But once you get that, once you get that you are making these changes, that these are things to look for, you will no longer, you will look at setbacks way differently. Okay. And you will start congratulating yourself so much more whenever this happens. And when you do that, you know what happens, ladies? You start building confidence. Confidence, because you're like, oh, I just never, I'm always focused on how I feel. And I just went like 5 minutes without focusing on myself. And listen, ladies, I just want to say this right here. I don't care if it's 5 minutes of progress or 5 days of progress. Every little thing counts. Don't discredit things because, well, it was only 5 minutes. Really? That's progress? Yeah, it is. It's progress if you've never done it before. Anything you do different that's positive is progress. Please don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. Give yourself that. So when I say on Saturdays, what's your win? I mean, like, I want you to like report every single win. I don't care if it was 2 seconds, even. Like, seriously, for 2 seconds, I sat with those feelings, and it was very bothersome. It was uncomfortable. I couldn't do it more than a minute, or I don't care, anything. If you couldn't do it 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden the next day you're doing it a minute, or the next day you're doing it 2 minutes, or that's all progress. That doesn't mean that you can't. That doesn't mean what you're doing doesn't work. It just means that that's what you could do in that moment. But the next day, what can you do different? Maybe you did it, maybe the breathing technique that you used, you were only able to do it for maybe 20 seconds, and it was so uncomfortable you couldn't do it anymore. So let's say the next day you did it 30, 40 seconds. Hey, it's 20 seconds more. You got to give yourself that grace. Okay? That, well, that, you know what? Let's add that to the list. Another thing that you're going to see different is that you're starting to give yourself grace, because a lot of you are very hard on yourself. You're not giving yourself credit for anything. You want to do this perfectly. And the more you try to be perfect, you're going to sabotage yourself. Okay? It's very hard to sabotage yourself, because you'll tell yourself, see, I did it again. I was doing good. I was sailing along, and I had to refocus on the anxiety, or I had to, I reacted to it in a way that I didn't want to. I should have known better. You become hard on yourself. So let's put that as like the fifth step. After you have acceptance, which is what I will work on with you. If we work together, we will work on having acceptance. Acceptance is key to everything, because what you don't accept becomes pain. Then the other thing is to give yourself grace, and keep giving yourself grace, because this is a process. Overcoming anxiety, ladies, is a process. It's not something that will happen right away. If you're somebody who's had anxiety 20, 30 years, okay, and you've relied on things like medication and distraction, and you didn't really have any tools, as you learn to reprogram or rewire or to regulate a dysregulated system, that takes time. I can't tell you how much time it takes, because everybody is different. And you should never compare yourself to anybody else. What about negative thoughts? Well, what about them? I'm not sure what you're asking me there. I did touch upon that a little bit, Because what happens is when we're anxious, we focus on our thinking, right? But what if you can just tell yourself they're just thoughts? Change your focus on the thoughts. They're just thoughts. You have them a lot. That's what anxiety does for sure. You know, I mean, I have a whole, I can't, this is not about negative thinking. I have live trainings about thoughts, negative thinking in the guide section that you can refer to. But just know that when you see that you're thinking more positively, when you're changing your focus on your blessings and gratitude, you are making progress. But Shanika, I'm not trying, that's a great question, but I can't focus on that right now. That's not what this live is about. But I did give many lives on thinking, mindset. They're all in the guide section. And please refer to that, okay? For sure. But your thinking has a lot to do with making progress. The moment you realize you're being negative, you have the power to make them positive. What do you do with all the hard memories that flash back and linger? Rumination. Well, again, that goes to what Shanika's saying. I have live trainings about that. This is more about how do you know when you're making progress, but when you can understand that you're not focusing so much on the past, when the past maybe is, let's say, I mean, I don't know what those hard memories are for you. Please don't say them here. Flashback. So that tells me maybe PTSD or, things that sometimes that requires things like forgiveness. Who do you need to forgive? Is that person yourself? Things need to change your focus, be more present. What can you learn from the past? Have gratitude in your heart. Gratitude is the antidote for so much of this because you're present, and in your present time, you get to choose how you feel and what you focus on. Just change your focus to the present time. And catch some of those trainings I have in the group, okay, in the guide section. They'll help you more with how to shape your thoughts and to keep your focus. So ladies, you really want to understand how to make progress, because it's going to not just help you with gaining confidence, but what it's also going to help with is emotional resilience. Emotional resilience is just your way of reacting to your trigger, overcoming your trigger quicker, okay, than if you didn't have emotional resilience. You want to build resilience to stress. That is the best way to do it, okay, is to change how you're focused, how you're responding, how you're reacting so that you get a good response, not such a reaction, but you're responding, to sit with those feelings, to know those feelings, that they're not going to hurt you, to have acceptance and to give yourself grace. Ladies, when it comes only to making progress, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask? Are there any questions about how to tell if you're making progress? Because if not, then that's really it. I mean, I don't know why the group isn't coming up. The group is not coming up. All right, I'll just go back to YouTube. So if you have no questions, I'm going to get going, but put your questions in the comment section or message me anytime. Okay. I took notes. Oh, great. Well, that's great because, I mean, it's going to be helpful to you to really know what to look for so that when you make progress, ladies, remember to give yourself that pat on the back. Congratulate yourself. Don't just discount what you did. You know, I don't care if you made progress for seconds, minutes, weeks, months, years, whatever your progress was. It's progress. It's something different than where you were. But you got to give yourself that credit. And you got to give yourself grace, because if you're not giving yourself grace, you're going to be so hard on yourself. And it's going to be so hard for you to recognize your progress, because all you're going to focus on is what didn't go well and what you did wrong and how you weren't perfect. And you're going to beat yourself up. Does that all make sense, ladies? So remember those steps I gave you. I love those feelings aren't going to hurt you. That's going to help me a lot. Yeah, well, Shauna, I don't know how long you've had anxiety. But if you're somebody who's been experiencing anxiety for months, years, those anxiety feelings, if they haven't hurt you yet, they're not going to hurt you. Okay? They're not meant to hurt you. All right? Anxiety is actually your friend. If you want to know more about anxiety and what anxiety is and why you have it, again, in the guide section, I have trainings talking specifically about anxiety and what anxiety really is. I mean, what it really is a response. It's your response that you can change off and on for 10 years. Yeah, okay. And your grandma, yes, this too shall pass. I've been told that a lot. But see, the thing is, our triggers pass. Okay, I just want to say this one thing. Our triggers pass, but what doesn't pass are the feelings. Why? Because we hold on to those feelings because we become so focused on them. That's why focus is one of my number one things. When you can start changing your focus, okay? When you can start changing your focus and not be so focused on those feelings, you know you're making progress. Because your trigger probably passed a while ago, you know? But if you're still focused on how am I reacting to every single thing, because what happens is our systems become overreactive, right? We react to everything with that flight and flight response. And we need to regulate our systems. What do you tell yourself when you're in a setback to keep up the progress? Sorry if I missed that. You know, Dee Dee, this is more about making the progress. I did a live all about setbacks last week. To answer that, I'm really going to ask that you watch that live, okay? Watch that live and you will understand what a setback is, why you have it. And the reason why I'm making this live is because I really want you to understand when you're making progress, and to understand you're only having a setback because you did make progress. So go watch that live, then rewatch this live, connect them together. Okay? And you will probably make great progress because it's all lives I do are connected. I mean, like there's a reason for everything. But keep watching the lives, refer back to them as much as you need to. And I'm telling you, you react differently, you focus different, you react so that you make more of a response. You sit with those feelings, you have acceptance, giving yourself grace. You're on your way. It's just a matter of time. You just gotta keep believing, keep trusting, and keep going with it. It's a matter of time. All right. Ladies, if there's no other questions, wait, let me. Okay, I don't see. I mean, maybe I'm passing it. I'm sorry if there's a question and I'm passing it. However, again, you could put it in the comments or message me anytime. Be well, ladies, and take care. And congratulate yourself, recognize all that progress. And Saturday, when I put in that post, I hope to hear from so many more of you now that you understand what progress means. Be well. Take care. Bye.